and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 485. Woo! As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by viable human Chris Saturn.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Saturn.
How's your Discord doing?
Oh, it's great, man. Everything's so great. It's perfect tonight. Everything's awesome and awesome and great all at the same
I woke
time.
up tonight and immediately saw a message from you that was like, we want to start at 7, and it was like 6:40 something. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah.
Well, I was wanting to start, so I have to take a sick rat to the vet tomorrow morning for pain medication. She hurt her foot.
Oh,
and yesterday we were like, hey, can we start early?
See, I misread that message because I saw that message that said, can we start early? And you said something about 8 o'clock, and I thought you were saying, can we start at 8 o'clock? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And so I was like, can we start earlier?
And you were like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then there was never a time that came up, and I was like, I don't actually know when he wakes up, so
yeah,
I'm just going to plan on 7. If he's not awake, we'll do it when he wakes up.
I normally wake up between 5 and 6, but I stayed up late yesterday, and so my schedule's all fuckered, and so I ended up sleeping in a little bit.
Oh, we do have housekeeping, which is that Guy is back. He's back from his travels, his world travels.
We just had a 40-minute pre-show, so we're wired.
If you want to hear about Lassie, sports, and Shamu, then that's the 40-minute pre-show for you. Please enjoy. And yes, Guy is back in Pog form.
Yes.
And he's going to be here at the end of the show for his segment. So you know,
we haven't had in like 6 months.
It's been a little while.
Yeah.
A little while, you know. My week. I did check out a bunch of Next Fest stuff. Steam was doing their Next Fest, which is quickly becoming kind of one of the only like video game events in a given year that I actually care about.
Yeah.
Because for people that don't know, Next Fest is basically like upcoming games that have demos available.
Yes.
So a lot of companies will make demos for Next Fest.
Yeah. And it's mostly indie games, but you do see some of the bigger companies jumping in there, which is neat.
And so it's what I love about it is you get to go check out cool new games, and all of them you can play right now. It's kind of almost like a digital version of like actually getting to go to a show floor at an E3 or trade show where it's like, hey, here's these games coming out. Come play them a little bit and see what sounds cool.
Yeah.
I have noticed this year a lot of the stuff I tried was like pre-alpha, like kind of too early to really be having demos.
Yeah, like closer to game jam style than demo style.
I think some projects are kind of rushing a little bit to make it to the game jam.
Right.
That said, I played 5 or 6 different game jam games and didn't love any of them, and Next Fest uninstalled them and forgot what they were called. And so I'm not going to talk about any of them except for Ballionaire.
Yeah.
Which you had brought up because it was kind of front and center at Next Fest and getting a lot of attention.
The Balatro guy said that he thought it was the next Balatro. I'm not sure if I agree.
It is basically pachinko, and I don't mean Peggle, I mean pachinko. Like you push a button and a ball drops from the top and you have no control, no aim, nothing. And what you do in Ballionaire is you get to put in specialty pegs on this pachinko board that give extra bounces or shoot your balls around or split them into different balls or bank them and then explode later. And, antics ensue and you have to get so much money and the amount you need keeps going up. It's fun.
Did you try both boards?
No, I've only tried the pyramid board, maybe half dozen games.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's not Balatro fun.
No. I tried the pyramid board once and got to the end and finished it. Mm-hmm. And then I tried the other board 4 or 5 times and could not get anywhere just because it's a circle board and it rotates, so all of your pegs rotate with it.
Yeah.
And I could not figure out how to strategize that for the life of me.
It's a cool game. It's cute. I don't know what the price is. If it's like $5 when it comes out, I think it's $5 worth of fun.
I could see up to 15 if they add a ton of content in it.
Yeah, if it came out with like 30 boards, okay, maybe. But if it's like, 7, 8 boards and we're going to add more later, like, $5, $6, $7, I could see it. Is it the next Balatro or Vampire Survivors?
I don't think so.
It didn't grab me that hard.
Right.
Did not grab me that hard.
But maybe the final version will add enough that it does grab me. This is a pretty early beta, it feels like.
Yeah, it is super early. I think this one was also like alpha or pre-alpha. Yeah. It's very early.
Also, I don't like the art style in it.
I don't love it either. I'm kind of ambivalent to it. I think you actively dislike it. I'm just kind of ambivalent. It does make this, when you start the game up, it makes this weird like sound of like two balloons rubbing together.
Yeah.
And I do hate that noise. I don't know why you would.
Noise.
It's awful. It's like a balloon squeaking.
Right.
Halls of Torment, a Vampire Survivors like that I mentioned a while back, has finally hit 1.0 and still remains really good. It's basically like, what if Diablo 2 was a Vampire Survivors clone?
Nice.
And it's real fun. For anyone looking for so here's my selling point on it. One, Diablo 2 meets Vampire Survivors. It's very much Vampire Survivors. It's not an action RPG. It is a Vampire Survivors clone, but it looks very Diablo 2, like on purpose.
Yeah.
And it is much more kind of like slow ramp linear progression when you're playing. So because vampires go ahead.
I like that you specified on purpose. I just imagine some developers like, oh shit, we accidentally made it look like this.
Oops. Because Vampire Survivors, it kind of bounced like a lot of times you'd be playing Vampire Survivors and it's like you're doing horrible, then all of a sudden nothing can touch you, and it just kind of balance wise is all over the place.
Yeah.
This is very like intentionally linear, small incremental gains. So if you dislike how kind of RNG and broad Vampire Survivors feels, this is a little more focused. But really fun, very, very, and I think it's cheap. I think it's under $10. But they just hit 1.0. It's got lots of characters and lots of cool mechanics.
Nice.
One that I like is that you pick up equipment and you put on equipment, kind of Diablo style, but you can also send equipment back up top so you can use it on subsequent runs. But if you do that, you don't have it for that run. So you're always kind of doing that balancing act in your head of like, oh man, I got this really good equipment, but is it enough for me to actually beat this level and take it with me, or do I need to send it up top before I die? And if I do that, will that screw me out of finishing this level?
Right.
And it's got actual bosses like that have, it's not like Vampire Survivors where they're just like, oh, it's a big one now. This one's a big lizard man. He's got extra health. They've like actually got attack patterns and things.
Oh.
I also tried out the demo for that new not Persona game, Metaphor something Fozbear something or another. The new
Fozbear
Atlas
is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, is it? The new Atlas Persona thing. It's called Metaphor.
Yeah, Metaphor di Fantasio.
Yeah, that one. And I was very excited because everyone was like, it's Persona, but with like a boring vanilla fantasy pastiche. Yeah. And I love boring vanilla fantasy. It's my favorite. I'm that freak, right?
Yeah.
And I got into it, and I couldn't make it through the 2-hour anime it wanted me to watch to get to the game. And so mostly I was watching this anime, and then I would walk 10 steps and then watch another episode of this anime. And maybe one day, I don't know how many seasons long the anime is that you have to get through before you get to begin playing the game. But I think once I get to, it might be pretty fun. So we'll see.
I've heard some people give excellent reviews to it, and other people basically say exactly what you just said. So
yeah,
I think it just depends on how much you're willing to sit through the anime.
Yeah, what gets me is Persona, like, it didn't bother me. I'm just going to say that I don't like the pacing in Persona. I don't want to say it has bad pacing because then the internet will kill me. But I don't, it has a very deliberate pace that it does on purpose.
Right.
But it never really felt great.
Oh no, we accidentally made this pacing.
Oops! All these game developers just mixing things in a big pot, and then shit comes out, and they're like, we don't know what happened. So I don't know. I also picked up Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon.
Yeah.
It was on sale for like $34.99 or something, and I was like, that's cheap enough, and picked it up. Very fun. Nice. Very snappy, very fast. Pretty hard game. Pretty gosh damn hard game. It does have a checkpoint system. My fear was, because it's, for people that don't know, FromSoft did Armored Core previously and this new one.
Yeah.
And I was worried they would kind of take some cues from the Souls games and be like, now Armored Core is a Souls-like. They didn't do that. Like other Armored Core games, it's still pretty damn tough.
Right.
But there are kind of regular enough checkpoints that you never feel too beat down, and you can like restart pretty quickly. It's fun. It's very fun. It's a very anime style mech game, much like the previous Armored Cores, but
Right.
it looks really, really good. And I'm having a pretty good time with that. It's starting to get a little tough, a little difficult. But it's fun. It's a very good looking game. Runs fantastic on Switch, not Switch. Doesn't run at all on Switch. On Steam Deck, runs
fantastic
well
on the system it's not released for.
on Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And so I'm having a good time with it. It's very much like straight linear level based. It is like the reviews said. They're like, it is more Armored Core, but a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So if you've not played Armored Core, then it's just straight level based. Here's however many levels and some arena battles, and that's the game. Goodbye. See you later.
Nice.
But it's good. It's good. I've been having a good time with that.
Nice.
So, what have you been doing?
So, I was playing our game for this week on my Xbox, on my Series X.
What a foolish decision.
Apparently, because it decided that it would not go back to the home screen on my Xbox.
Uh-huh.
It was just stuck in the game and would not leave the game.
It was like, no, you're going to fucking finish this.
Yeah, and so I tried to go into the menu to even like look at my achievements or whatever, and it's like, no, we're just going to darken the screen. That's as much as you get. And then I tried to turn off my Xbox, and it was like, no, you do not get to turn off your Xbox anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I unplugged my Xbox for a while, and then I plugged it back in, and it looked like everything was normal. It let me play Vampire Survivors for a minute.
All right, yeah, functioning as intended.
Yeah, it's a Vampire Survivors machine. That's what it's supposed to do.
Everything with Vampire Survivors is just a Vampire Survivors machine.
Exactly. So, so I thought that things were okay. So, then I went back to the menu to switch back to Onimusha, and it was like, no, you don't get to go back to the menu. You just play Vampire Survivors now.
Yeah.
And so I unplugged it again, and I plugged it back in, and I did a system reset on my Xbox because that's.
Oh no.
I've had this issue before, where well, not this exact issue, but I've had weird menu issues on my Series X since I've gotten it.
Yeah.
And the last time that I contacted Microsoft, they're like, we'll do a system reset. You'll keep all your games and your save files. You'll just lose like your menu settings, like your wallpaper or whatever. Everything else is saved to Microsoft servers, so you probably won't even notice. And so I did that, and I was like, all right, this will probably fix it for another few months, and we'll go from there. And then when it came back, it said something went wrong.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh shit, what is going on? And then I went to look online to see if like Xbox Live was down. It was, and all of the problems I was having were caused by the Xbox Live outage, not by me needing to reset my system. So I could have just waited it out and been fine, but I didn't know to do that, so I reset my system, and I was like, well, how do I get past this? And everybody's like, you don't. Everybody who reset their system is just fucked. You can't turn on your Xbox right now.
Aren't games consoles so great now, Saturn?
Yeah, it's so
you know how
great.
like shit happening to a server farm 3,000 miles away fucks up the ability for your console to literally
even
do
turn
anything?
on. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. Video games rule.
Yeah, so I waited till the next day and powered it on, and it let me finish setup and started itself up as if it was a brand new console. And I, started playing my game, and then it started doing the other thing that it was doing before I reset it, where it would not turn off anymore. It would just turn itself right back on every time I turned it off.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm angry at it. I'm going to look into repair options. And so I I check Microsoft's website, like how much does it cost to repair Microsoft's Xbox Series X when it is out of warranty? And it is $300. To repair.
Isn't that how much a Series S costs?
It was a Series X.
Right, but I'm saying, couldn't you buy a whole Series S for that amount of money?
I could, but I wouldn't be able to play Onimusha on it because it doesn't have a disk drive.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
Series S does not help me at all. I need Series X. So I start contacting local places that do game repairs, and they're like, yeah, the Series X is a pain to repair because we're going to have to get parts from Microsoft, so it's going to cost like $3 to $4.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's more than Microsoft charges. And so then I start thinking about, if I'm paying that much, what does a new console cost? And it's still $500. They have not adjusted its price at all since its release. But I found somebody who would pay me $350 for a broken Series X.
Okay.
So I'm like, at that point, it's $150 to get a new Series X.
Yeah.
That's a lot cheaper than what it would have cost to repair this one. And then I see that the 2 terabyte Series X is now available. And it's $600. So then for $250,
is this slowly ramping up to a giant corporation fucking you out of something you paid good money for, and then you finding a way to give them more money for another one?
So now I've paid an extra $250 to get a new Series X, which is still cheaper than what the repair was going to cost.
Bad, wrong.
So I'm just angry now. Every time I turn it on, I'm upset at it now.
You should be.
But it does work at least. And I'm like, so what is the difference? What is the new thing that I have from this thing that I just spent $250 American dollars on? Yeah. Oh, it's just a little bit of extra storage.
Put more shit on it. Yeah.
That's what I got from this.
You did it.
Yeah. So now I have and it looks ugly too. The 2 terabyte model is ugly as shit. I don't know if you've seen it. They call it
no.
It's the Galaxy Black.
Let me look this up.
And it's ugly as shit. And I'm upset about it. And the controller is uglier. It's ugly. I don't like it.
It's all speckledy.
It is speckledy. And so every time I walk past it, I think that I've got some schmuck on it and I have to wipe it down. But no, that's just how it looks. And also the bottom of it is green. And I keep my Series X sideways so it'll fit my entertainment center.
Yeah.
And so the green part is just staring at me.
I kind of love the way this looks.
I hate it. I hate it so much. It's the ugliest piece of shit.
I kind of like this a lot.
And the controller is extra ugly. Oh,
yeah, it's got a green butt and a speckled D-pad.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate the D-pad. Fortunately, I still have my blue Xbox controller, which is what I use on it, so I never have to look at this ugly fucking controller.
Well, all right.
So that's my week. It's being angry at Microsoft and giving them money for it.
Sounds great.
I'll never know what the problem was that kept causing the OS to fuck on my Series X, but now it's someone else's problem.
Yeah. Let's do the news.
Okay.
First up, a new Steam update clarifies that users are only purchasing a license for their games.
Yeah.
Which is, a thing we talked about recently. A lot of marketplaces are being forced to do this thanks to a new legislation coming down.
Which what's knew. Weird? This isn't news to anybody.
What's weird is I saw people get mad about it, and they're like, "I don't know my games now," and everyone was like, "You never did, you idiots." This is just them reminding you of that when you go to give them money every time. This is a good thing.
Right.
Nothing has changed about the purchasing process except how they inform you of it.
Yeah.
It has remained static. If you are upset now, you should have been upset the whole time.
Right. Yeah, we were telling you to be upset this whole time. You were just ignoring us and acting like we were the idiots.
And a lot of people got real upset about it.
It's
and
weird.
I don't get it. New update for Xbox Cloud Gaming will allow users to play their owned games in the near future. Yay! Finally, cloud gaming lets you play your games. It's the future of gaming.
This isn't the future. This is what Stadia did, remember?
It's the future of gaming.
It is nice that you'll be able to stream games even after they leave Game Pass if you own them.
Yeah.
I buy all my stuff physically, so it won't matter to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Steam Deck now available in Australia. Australians were previously paying pretty high markups for Steam Decks. I don't know what has taken so long, but it is now.
I assume some regulatory thing. Or maybe they had to figure out how to put the screen on upside down. I don't know.
Right, because it's on in Australia.
Right.
They had to figure out how to kangaroo proof the Steam Deck. So it took more time. We do have a few Australian denizens in our Discord, so hopefully this makes this, because every now and then I'll be discussing with one of them, and they'll be like, "Well, Steam Deck is this much," and I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "I'm in Australia," and I'm like, "Oh." And so hopefully this alleviates a little bit of that.
It's also how Justin talks anytime he's in the chat. Just
whoa. Hackers have taken over 1 terabyte of data from Game Freak.
Oh no.
That's a shitload of data, man.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That is a
lot going out.
Leak.
Really big leak.
A relatively small company too.
Not really seen anything come out of
apparently
that leak yet.
The source code to Black and White 2, I think, was leaked.
Yeah. We did get some source code out of it. Yeah.
And some pre-release Pokemon information from some old games, and also I don't remember what the headline was, but it was like something inappropriate, like a fanfic or a porn or something.
Why would Game Freak have that on their servers?
I don't know, but that was included for some reason. I didn't 100% follow the story because I don't really care about Pokemon. I just happened to see something about something inappropriate was included with the files. I'm like, well, that's weird. I should look into this, and then never did.
Yeah. Siren 2 rated for release on PS4 and PS5. This is one of them. Their horror games, isn't it?
Yes, I'm stoked about this. The Siren games, the 2 of them on PS2, have just been locked on PS2 for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so the first
are these remakes or just re-releases of the PS2 version?
Re-release of the PS2 games. They've been adding achievements, and that is it. That is all you get in these new re-releases. They have been putting them on their ultra expensive PSN service if you want to pay Sony a ludicrous amount of money, but otherwise you can purchase them.
Yeah. Remnants of an unreleased Star Fox 64 level called Battleship have been found, so that's pretty cool.
That's neat.
Hopefully we see that reconstructed and stuck into the game.
Yeah, the story I saw was like hackers have found an unreleased Star Fox 64 level. I'm like, well, if they're hacking it in there, then that's not really original.
Yeah,
but no, as data from an early release of the game.
Yeah. Craig Duncan from Rare has been promoted to head of Xbox Game Studios. Yeah. Which is good for Craig.
Yeah, I don't remember who the person he took the place from was.
I was about to ask.
It was from a studio I've never heard of that I did not realize was a part of Xbox.
I'm sure it's great for him. A lot of these like internal promotions and these like
Turn 10 was the studio that the previous boss came from, which I've never heard of.
Never heard of that either. But it's when people scooting around in these big mega conglomerate companies, it's hard to feel
the Forza
like that.
People. All right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then I know of their game.
Yeah.
Know of them.
Of their game.
The official Nintendo Museum in Japan is running an SNES. Is running SNES games via a PC emulator. Because fuck us, I guess they can do it, but we can't.
Right.
God damn it.
Yeah.
You just hook a. I can't just hook a fucking Switch up.
Yep.
Like you have Super Nintendo games on the Switch. Some of them anyway. Not a lot. A few.
Yeah, they already have a Switch. They already have a Super NES emulator for the Switch. They have it for the Wii U. They have it for the 3DS. They have multiple ways. They could just put a Super NES Mini up there that they put games on, but no, just run it on a PC. It's cheap.
Fuck you, Nintendo. It's not the first time they've been caught doing this shit. This seems to be a regular, recurring theme with them.
Yep.
Bandai Namco announces layoffs and game cancellations. It's coming up into the holidays. It's layoff time of year. Everyone get ready to not afford Christmas presents for your kids.
This whole year has been layoff time of year for the game industry.
It's been rough. It's been really rough.
I don't know if you heard it or not, but there was a long-form conversation I saw on YouTube. It was Adam Conover with Jason Schreier talking about all the layoffs in the industry.
Yeah.
And it's a rough industry right now for everyone.
It's brutal.
What's weird is throughout their conversation, they kept complimenting Nintendo and being like, Nintendo is like the best company out there right now.
That's weird. I mean,
wise.
They're not doing a ton of layoffs.
Right, yeah.
Which is good.
From the consumer perspective, I don't know if Nintendo's the best company right now.
If you're picking one of them to work at, that's probably an okay one.
Yeah, that's probably right, yeah.
Yeah. The new Xbox Series X consoles have a smaller APU.
Oh, that's what I get from my new system.
Congratulations. Less APU. I assume there's because they're rated nanometers.
6 nanometer versus 7 nanometer.
6 nanometer. Oh, 1 nanometer smaller.
Saved a nanometer.
Oh, boy.
What will I do with all this extra space?
I don't know. You could buy a second Xbox, put it next to it for when this one shits the bed.
Yeah.
Uematsu has announced his retirement, will not compose for any more full games, which is very specifically worded.
Yeah, he did
so that he can still compose
for
games, just not the full. So not really retired, just mostly retired.
I feel like this is a trend with a lot of Japanese creatives that we've seen, where they announce their retirement and they're like, I won't do any more like full-size mega projects, but I definitely don't want to stay at home with my family.
Right. If I get too annoyed with my kids, I'm going to come out of retirement. I want the option to pull the ripcord.
Or in the case of Miyazaki, if I get too annoyed with my kids' work, I'm going to take it over and do all the work for him.
The source code for Rogue Legacy has been released to the public, to be clear, by the makers of Rogue Legacy.
By the developers, yes.
Which is really awesome.
Yeah.
This is something that I absolutely love to see. Yeah. This is great for gaming. This is great for fans. This is great for the industry.
Yeah.
Rogue Legacy 2 is out, and obviously they would love for you to buy both games. But
I've already bought the first game many times now.
Yeah, I bought one of the game. I bought the physical release, the physical PC release. There's that company that did those like steel books for
I got that too.
Like a year and then crashed and burned.
You know what company that was, right?
No, who was that?
It was GameStop. That's the company it was.
Oh, yeah. It was GameStop, wasn't it? I bought them on eBay after the fact for like $3 a piece.
Yeah, I bought them on clearance at a GameStop.
Well, no, it was a company like GameStop put them out. You know, they were GameStop.
No, GameStop owned that company.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, fuck me then. Dino Crisis released to PS4 or PS5. What? Not available for purchase?
Yes, it is only available through their ultra expensive subscription service.
So they released the game.
Yes.
Dino Crisis released on PS4 and PS5, but you can't buy it.
Right. You can only play it if you subscribe to the $150 PSN Plus, whatever. Yeah.
EGM Compendium chronicles the history of EGM Magazine. This is currently, I think, in crowdfunding or maybe ending crowdfunding.
Yeah,
it's basically a big EGM hardcover book.
Like minutes, but yeah, it is.
Which it looks cool. I'm excited for it.
In addition to the book, they've already released a website which has most or all of this information of the history of EGM.
Yeah. So that's a cool thing. I honestly wish more gaming magazines had these compendium treatments where we can look back on the history of it with some new insights and some new ideas and kind of a curated look back at it, because a lot of them is just a lot of chaff to wade through.
Oh yeah.
Tosei announces their first annual losses
in 40 some odd years. Yeah.
Holy, what is Tosei doing?
Right? Yeah, that was
nobody else is doing.
Yeah, because Tosei announced that they had like some minor losses this year. It wasn't tremendous, but they did have some annual losses. But they also announced it was the first time in 44 years that they've ever experienced financial loss. And in their apology to their shareholders, because this is devastating news, that they had a minor loss in 44 years. They said, "Don't worry, they will recover next year because of Nintendo's next console."
Well, I want to say sorry, Tosei, but I think kind of good for you is what we should be saying.
Right? Yeah, because 44 years straight of profits, that's a good company, and it's bizarre that they have to basically immolate themselves in front of their shareholders for having a loss once.
Yeah, because they lost $1 one time,
right, in
a century.
Yeah.
Analog 4K in 64 announced will release next year for $250 goddamn dollars. With some of the most bullshit rip-off Apple marketing stuff that I've ever fucking seen.
The 8-bit-do N64 controller looks neat, though.
That is an interesting take. I'm interested in that. Of course, that's not made by Analog. That's made by 8-bit-do and will presumably be available for regular general sale.
Yeah.
So really, that's the most exciting part of this.
It will not be included with the Analog 64. You have to buy it separate.
Yeah, you got to buy it separate. They're going to give you the option to buy a thing from another company when you also buy your groundbreaking, revolutionary N64 system. So I can't with their fucking head up their own ass marketing. I just cannot. And I'm also annoyed that like these are all the same goddamn FPGA chips. Are they not? Can we not just make one system and make cartridge readers that attach to it? Can we not just do what Polymega said they were going to do? Can we not just do that?
But what about the design, Justin?
Oh my God, I don't care about machined aluminum. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
For Analog fans, cool, good for y'all. Yeah. I hope it's better than some of their previous launches have been that have been rocky. They really wanted to tout their new OS, and I know they had OS problems.
Garbage OS. It's such a garbage OS.
Pocket. So.
And on the Turbo Duo.
Yeah, so hopefully they really wanted to like fluff up their OS, like it was one of their main bullet points. And so we'll fucking see, man. For people to spend $250, I hope you get $250 worth of.
$250 is about $230 more than I would ever pay for an N64.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. Is I don't have a lot of love for the N64 anyway, despite having played it a lot.
I remember when I was working at EB, when we were selling N64s used for $15. I just had a stack of them, and I couldn't get them to move until they were on sale for $10 or less.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, the N64 is still a $15 console. And that feels right.
It's gone up a bit. It's gone up a bit.
No, not in my mind. It is still $15. That's as much as it's worth.
Which brings us to our topic at hand, which is Onimusha Warlords. That samurai Resident Evil game that's kind of like Resident Evil, but also kind of not Resident Evil, but it has tank controls, and it's by Capcom, so hey, Resident Evil samurai game,
Yeah.
This was developed and published by Capcom, released on PS2 in Japan, North America, and PAL territories, all in 2001. Hit the Xbox as Genma Onimusha the following year. There was a PC release in Asia and Europe in 2003 and 2005, respectively, and there has been an enhanced re-release. Not really a remake or a remaster, but an enhanced re-release on PC, Switch, PS4, Xbox One. Came out 2018 in Japan, worldwide 2019. Yeah. So this one has been around for a minute.
Yeah.
First encounters, I started working at GameStop in the late PS2 era. So like 04, 05-ish.
Yeah.
So it was the tail end. And so Onimusha was something that we always had on the shelves.
Yeah. It was a staple by that point.
Absolutely,
how many copies it sold early on.
And I remember I tried playing it once, and I went into it wanting like Ninja Gaiden, which I'd been playing on my Xbox. I'm like, all right, it's like a cool samurai hack and slash game. And it was not that at all. It was very slow and clunky and weird.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to run around and cut dudes up with a samurai sword. That's all I was really after.
Right.
And so I fell out of it pretty quick. I also remember it being really hard. I remember just feeling like it was fucking impossible to know where to go or what to do. And I just kind of dropped it and never thought about it again until this month.
I remember seeing it on PS2 when it came out, because it was one of the first like big this is why you should have a PS2 games.
Yeah.
It was one of the few original titles that everybody was like, this is worth it. This is worth having the new console.
Yeah.
But I didn't end up picking it up myself just because I was not super interested in the whole samurai aesthetic, and I was playing other things at the time. And then when it released on Xbox, and it was cheap enough, I think I got it used for less than $20. I was like, I need games to play on my Xbox, and I heard a lot of good things about this when it was on PS2, so I'll pick it up. I did not realize how much was changed between the two, or I would not have gotten the Xbox version.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that, but...
Yeah. Well, because the Xbox was the big boy gamer system, so everything had to be harder on Xbox.
Yeah, well, that was because of Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden it's what big boy hardcore gamers play. Yeah.
And so everybody thought, everybody likes super difficult games, so we can only release games as super difficult.
And then the second we almost broke away from it,
Dark Souls came out.
Dark Souls came out, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still upset about this whole thing. But yeah, so I had tried it multiple times on the Xbox. I was like, well, this game is just impossible. There's no way I can possibly play this.
Yeah.
And then didn't bother to try it again until we were recording for the show, because I had bought it years ago when the remaster, re-release, whatever, was on clearance on Xbox. And so I picked it up, and so it's been sitting on my shelf like, someday I'll get to this again.
Yeah.
And so that day was this last week or two.
There you go. So when it originally released, it was 2001.
Yeah.
I was 11. So I was a little small to be playing.
I was out of high school.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about the development for Onimusha.
Okay, so the earliest development was envisioned as Ninja Resident Evil.
I'm down for that. Yes.
For the Nintendo 64.
I'm not down for that. No.
Yeah, so that was what was originally pitched. Was Ninja Resident Evil was going to be on the N64 or the N64 disk drive, one or the other. The original proposal was from Resident Evil producer Noshiki Okamoto, and it was he wanted it to be in a ninja house similar to the mansions of Resident Evil, and that was just his pitch. Was ninja
Is
house?
a ninja house
Resident
like those
Evil
influencer houses where all the influencers all live together and make TikTok videos?
Except for it's all ninjas, you can't see.
Yeah,
anybody.
just throwing ninja stars everywhere.
It just looks like an empty house, and you just occasionally see a ninja star show up.
Yeah, is that what a ninja house is?
Basically it. No, it's apparently a trope from Japanese stories of ninja
okay,
house.
All right.
And separately, Kaiji Inafune, who we have discussed in the past,
yes,
the Mega Man not creator,
right, the man who single-handedly, with no help, whole cloth created Mega Man by himself and all of the Mega Man games. Right? Is that
definitely
Kaiji
that?
Inafune?
Yes.
Yeah. Personally, he made it on his own, and then came to Capcom and said, "I've created 11 games. Here they are."
And he was higher up at Capcom at this point. He had climbed the ladders.
Oh, he'd still be like way up there at this point.
Yeah, he wasn't quite the head yet, but he was climbing the ladder, and he had proposed a version of Resident Evil for the PS1 that was set in the Sengoku era of Japan. So like a historical Resident Evil, which I can see how this could have come up because they also made Dinosaur Resident Evil around the same time. So everybody was just pitching Resident Evils, I guess.
I'm kind of excited at the universe that we never got, where there was 10 or 20 different, like, hard-boiled detective Resident Evil and sci-fi Resident Evil and
Detective
cyberpunk
Resident Evil is just Parasite Eve.
I guess so, yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I do kind of wish that Resident Evil likes was still a thing. Like, I think there's some untrodden ground there.
Right. So he merged his idea with Okamoto's idea to eventually make what they were calling Sengoku Biohazard. And it was being developed for the PS1. So basically, it sounds like Inafune got everything he wanted. Yeah. And Okamoto just got credit, which is fine because he came up with the idea first.
Yeah.
So they eventually canceled the PS1 version just because they were struggling with the hardware, so they moved it to the PS2. There is a video demo of the PS1 version that was shown off by Capcom at one point. I don't know if you can still see the full video, but you can find still images of it out there. Yeah. And it looks kind of like the final version, just a little more PS1-y.
I was going to say the even the final version of Onimusha is not the most technically advanced looking PS2 game.
Yeah, I mean it was a very early PS2 game.
True.
So they were you can feel its PS1 heritage in the game.
Yeah, most definitely.
So the writing for the game's story was led by Noboru Sugimura, who was a TV writer best known for his work on Metal Hero as well as the Super Sentai Kamen Rider.
Oh man, Metal Hero's a trip.
Yeah. And he was a big fan of Resident Evil, and he had approached Capcom to do some kind of collaborative work, and this led to his writing on games in both the Dino Crisis and Clock Tower series, as well as all of the Onimusha games.
I do feel kind of sad. That, I mean, we're going to talk about it later, but I feel like I would not have anticipated that the level of writing that exists in Onimusha Warlords would be attributed to someone who did meaningful TV work, because it's pretty bland.
Yeah,
it's just.
I think the writing absolutely took a backseat to the action.
Oh, sure. And you can and we're going to talk about it, but it was going to be more than one game to begin with. And presumably the story gets more complex in 2 and 3 because the game did get sequels. Yeah. But this first one does not get to really stretch its legs as far as story goes.
Yeah, the story really pumps up, especially in the third game when Jean Reno is there and everything. That's when they introduce time travel and all this other wacky shit. So
this almost feels like, having gotten through the game, it almost feels like a prologue to what Onimusha would become. Right. Especially, which, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but some of the stuff right at the end where you're like, oh, cool, it's over.
Yeah. But yeah, he had always intended for it to be a trilogy. That was his intention. It was Sugimura along with Hirohisa Soda and Shin Yoshida were the main writers. They did get a chance to finish the trilogy because the first game did so well.
Mm-hmm.
The combat system for the game, when they were developing it, they encountered a bug that allowed enemies to just be juggled in the air indefinitely,
Mm-hmm.
and that inspired Devil May Cry because Hideki Kamiya was still there at Capcom. He saw that and he was like, I want a whole game where I just juggle enemies in the air.
I want the broken part, but that's the whole game and a motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think I'm okay with that. I want broken games with motorcycles. The main character, Samanosuke, he was modeled after actor-singer Takeshi Kaneshiro.
Mm-hmm.
He got to both model the character as well as act as the voice actor, which was still relatively uncommon at the time. You didn't see too many characters modeled after their actors.
And it's a pretty good model. Like, you look up a picture of Kaneshiro and you're like, oh, that's him. That's Samanosuke. Like, it's
and the allegedly deaf composer Mamoru Samuragochi was the composer for the game. He had convinced Capcom to hire a 200-piece orchestra to record the music for the game. And of course, famously in 2014, in an interview, he revealed that the composer for that orchestra was his ghostwriter for all of his games.
Mm-hmm.
And also he was not actually deaf. That all of it was just bullshit, and he had convinced Capcom to give him a lot of
Sounds
money.
like this guy might be an asshole.
He is. He is also famous for composing the director's cut of Resident Evil 1.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no. I've heard some of those tracks.
Oh, man.
They are.
I
didn't know that was this guy.
Yeah, it's this guy. The basement track from director's cut Resident Evil 1 is the best because they had fucked up the MIDI on it and picked all the wrong instruments. So it's like all trumpet instead of what instruments it was supposed to be. And so it just sounds
it
like
sounds
garbage.
like a trumpet falling down the stairs is what it sounds like.
My favorite description I saw of it was from a YouTube comment where somebody described it as, it sounds like the adults from Charlie Brown having an orgy. It's awful. Go listen to it if you haven't. It's great. The Xbox re-release of Onimusha included 480p visuals, 5.1 sound. They rearranged the item and armor locations. They also added the green souls, which I'll talk a little bit more about later when we get to the souls. And also the difficulty was increased greatly. It is significantly harder.
It's already a hard game.
Yeah. Playing through the original again now, I realized that the enemies that you encounter near the end of the original that are kind of spongy are the beginning of the game enemies in Genmo Onimusha.
Oof.
And so that is why it feels so difficult.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a change there, but it's still like story-wise it's the same game. They just rearranged everything and made it hard.
And I played the original PS2 version. I couldn't get it working in my emulator on PCSX2 on my Steam Deck. And I finally gave up and I bought it on Switch. Mm-hmm. And while I was waiting for it to download, I figured out what I had fucked up on my emulator. And so I've never even booted the Switch version. But I did it right. I bought the game and then I played my pirated version.
I will say the enhanced remaster does add some quality of life improvements.
Is it widescreen?
It is widescreen.
Okay, that's nice. I was in 4.3, so.
Yeah, it also adds the ability to quick change weapons. So
that is nice.
If you tap the right trigger, it toggles between your swords, and if you tap the left trigger, it toggles between your bow and your gun.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I never used the bow or gun a single time.
Yeah, I barely ever used
for
those at all.
anything.
I would accidentally equip them when the controller would brush against my finger.
Yeah,
but other than that,
if you didn't have if it was just a button I could push and I would shoot something, but I have to take my sword and put it up.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
On the newer version, you just tap L2 and suddenly you're using your bow.
Use it and then you tap
easier,
back.
And then you can tap R2 and suddenly you're on your sword again. So it's a little better. And then they also replaced the font and cleaned some things up so that it looks a little bit nicer on a modern TV. But it does have a couple of quality of life improvements like that.
Presentation wise, this is
it is an early PS2 game.
It is a good. So it's that early PS2 thing where like the character models look pretty good.
Yeah.
And the textures are pretty good, but it's just kind of like it feels like up-resed PS1.
Yeah, because they were still using the pre-rendered backgrounds, which
Yeah.
was not a super common thing on PS2. That was very much a PS1 era technique.
Right.
But they carried it over to this from their earlier development on PS1, and so it gives it a distinct style.
Yeah. The soundtrack was okay.
Yeah.
I played through probably half the game with headphones on, and it was serviceable.
So I played the remaster, and it does not include the original soundtrack.
Oh no!
Because Capcom is so angry at
Samaru
Gochi that they don't pay him anymore. And
Holy shit!
So it has got a whole new soundtrack that is very generic and bland and samurai-y.
Could you imagine working at a company for years and having to pretend to be deaf the whole fucking time?
I don't know how the fuck he did it.
That would be so annoying. It would just for years.
I think he was just contract, so he just came on for composing things.
Oh, okay.
But because he also composed like TV shows and movies and stuff, and he claimed to be deaf for all of it.
That's crazy.
I don't get how this guy exists. I don't get it.
Because when someone says they're deaf, why would they fucking lie about that? What a dumb thing to lie about.
And clearly his ghostwriter knew he was not deaf.
I found an ABC News article that says he was claimed to be Japan's Beethoven.
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
It was Takashi Nigaki, the ghostwriter, claimed that Samaru Gochi was Japan's Beethoven.
Yeah. So the guy who was actually writing the music and letting somebody else take credit for it was hyping. He was the hype man too. He was like, oh, he's Japan's Beethoven.
So fucking weird.
Yeah.
Let's talk story. There's not a lot here.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. You play Samanosuke Akechi, and you are going to a castle to save a princess.
Your cousin.
Yeah, your cousin, the princess.
Yeah.
And you show up there, and you see the Princess Yuki gets kidnapped by a demon.
Yeah.
And then the demon kills Samanosuke.
Yeah.
Or gets beat, or it's hard. It's not really super clear. It seems like he kind of is dying.
Yeah, it looks like you're dying, and you end up in the Oni realm, or the ogre realm.
Yeah, and you're given a little gauntlet thing that steals souls.
Yeah.
So that you can then fight these demons.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go into this castle, and then the game is basically you finding and recovering this princess. Like that's it doesn't get any more complicated than save the princess. Like that's the whole thing.
And you got your ninja friend with you.
I think that there is some actual, like, I mean, obviously it's not historically accurate, but they, like, I don't know Sengoku era stuff outside of like video games and anime. It does seem like they try to loop in some kind of actual history threads here and there. Like, this happened during the such and such battle, and so they try to kind of loop some of this in to make it seem more like historical fiction.
Well, the bad guys, the demons are resurrecting Nobunaga.
Yeah, and they talk about Nobunaga a lot, and so there is an attempt. Because we were talking about how basic the plot is. I think if we were aware of Sengoku era history,
right,
it might be a little more interesting because it's like historical fiction, kind of explaining what happened at this historical event, right? Because it's the Battle of Okehizama is the like battle that it opens on.
Yeah.
Anyway, you are helped along the way by your ninja friend Kaede, and you just kind of hang out in this castle looking for this princess. Eventually, you find a little boy. God, what's the kid's name? Yumimaru?
That sounds
Yumimaru. Right. Yumimaru's there. Yuki takes care of him, so you're eventually saving Yuki and Yumimaru. And it's pretty much just find the princess and kill the demons, and that's about as complicated as it gets. There is that other clan there that is kind of antagonizing you along the way, but it never really turns into anything.
It never felt like a game that was propelled by its story.
Yeah, not really. I mean, they have some threads. Again, I think like if we knew the history of this actual era, then maybe like we'd be like, oh, that's the such and such clan. Like it would be interesting. But none of it turns into anything within the actual plot of the game. It's very much just here it is. Gameplay is where this one is trying to kind of hang its hat in its Resident Evil clone territory.
I will real quickly about the story say that for a game that has a relatively mild story, they really ramp up the story in the other games. So like I said, this one very much feels like a prologue. This is setting the stage for some shit that's going to go batshit later. Basically just teaching you about all the demons and shit so that you can be aware of what's going to happen in the sequels.
This is D-pad tank controls Resident Evil with swords.
Now, the remaster lets you choose not D-pad.
Oh, really?
Or not tank controls, rather.
Really? I didn't know that. Man, I should have played the remake. I feel dumb now.
I thought the original had that option as well if you used the analog stick.
I kept trying. It could have been my emulator, but I kept trying to use the analog stick. It wouldn't let me, so I was on full I played the whole game, D-pad tank controls, the whole time.
Yeah, on the remaster, analog stick is just directional controls and D-pad is tank controls, which I prefer the tank controls in games like this with the fixed camera angles.
With the pre-rendered backgrounds, it does. Sometimes it does feel better.
Because whenever I would try to use the analog stick, as soon as a screen would change, my brain just breaks because I'm still holding down and he's moving upright, and if I try to touch the analog at all, he suddenly switches direction and I get very confused. So I just use the tank controls just because that's what I'm used to.
There is some kind of more actiony stuff in this one. This one very much wants to be Resident Evil, but kind of more actiony. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think
Resident Evil melee actiony.
Yeah, Resident Evil, I think a lot of the time it's like if you can avoid the shit, you avoid the shit.
Right.
This one is very much like you're grinding for souls because you get fire, lightning, and wind, swords, and corresponding spells.
Right.
And you have to kill enemies, absorb their souls, and then level these items up to progress through the game. In addition to solving kind of your standard Resident Evil style puzzles that consist of going around and finding keys and cutting ropes and going up and down stairs and you know, that kind of general Resident Evil stuff.
Yeah.
There is a parry system that I could just never get the hang of.
Yeah, it's tough. The timing windows are pretty tight. I almost felt like the remaster was a little bit more generous on the timing windows, but that might have been just because I had previously played the Xbox version and it was an asshole.
Stingy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the action in this game. I struggle to play older Resident Evil games because I play them badly, because when I see things, I want to use all of my weapons to kill the things. I'm like, room full of zombies. The exciting thing to do is to shoot a rocket launcher at them. And then I find out later you only get one fucking rocket for the whole game or whatever, you know? Like any game that wants me to save my resources frustrates me because I'm like, don't give me cool shit and then say, but don't use it. That annoys me. It annoys me to no end. If I get cool shit, I want to use it. And in Onimusha, you get cool swords, and it wants you to use them nonstop. It wants you to grind in areas. And the action...
Now, the gun is a little more limited in ammo.
True. Yeah, you do have a bow and a gun, and they are limited, but they also kind of suck anyway. Yeah. So the swords within the
swords
spells
are much more
cool
powerful,
shit.
So there's no good reason to fall back on the bow or gun.
The action was pretty fun. It just kind of general hack and slash. The occasional parry, there's a block button. There's kind of a ready sword button that like points you towards your enemy as kind of a soft lock on.
Yeah.
And the actual hack and slash was pretty fun. I struggled in the game because the pre-rendered backgrounds are so small that you're constantly getting knocked into
the next screen.
Different screens.
Yeah.
And it's really disorienting. And a lot of times, like, you'll be fighting enemies that are on the next screen.
Yeah.
And you're right on the edge of it. And that got really, really frustrating a lot of the time.
Now, I'm somewhat used to that from a lot of horror games.
Right.
Just because fixed camera angles were a staple in horror games for decades.
Yeah.
So I'm very used to that, but they also rarely ever had melee combat. So you usually had some range between you and the enemies, and you could just sit back and fire a couple of shots.
You knew the
they
direction they
came on
were,
screen.
and you could shoot it that way.
Yeah. But when it's melee, it's a lot harder because especially if you're right on the edge of a screen transition, you could slash and suddenly change screens and then get hit and get knocked back to the previous screen. And so there's a lot of disorientation there.
And on the original, there's a bit of load time between some of these screen transitions.
It's instant on the remaster, which is also a problem because the game gives you no time to react to that
recover.
Screen change. Yeah.
The hardest part was there's an area called the Dark Realm. To get the strongest sword in the game, you have to go through the Dark Realm and get an ocarina that you play at a certain point right before the end of the game to get the strongest sword in the game.
Yeah.
It's also a great way because you can go through it multiple times to grind out more items.
Yeah.
Kind of flying in the face of traditional Resident Evil design of like you only get so much of everything and you got to ration it. It's like you can just keep grinding through the Dark Realm, which is just 20 levels of you fighting bad guys.
Right.
And going through the Dark Realm was insanely hard because you're in one little tiny room.
Yeah.
And it's this little tiny round room, but it's like 3 different screens, 3 different camera angles you're transitioning to.
Yeah, it just keeps rotating as you walk around.
And between 2 of them, there's a noticeable like 2-second load time.
Oof.
At least on the PS2 version. And so you're fighting the hardest battles in the game, constantly bouncing back and forth into load times. And that was the point where I finally was like, I just have to start cheating.
Yeah.
And thankfully I was on an emulator and I figured out how PNATCH files work on PCSX2 and PS2 emulation. Nice. And I turned on cheats. I turned on infinite magic and just magicked them.
Nice.
I meant to play some of the remake. I just didn't get around to it because I think fixing these load times and getting to not use tank controls would make it a significantly more fun experience. That said, I still had fun with it.
Yeah, I think that the not tank controls and the lack of load times take away just as much as they add.
Really?
Because the not tank controls means that anytime there's a screen transition...
You have to reorient your stick, yeah.
No, you have to keep holding the direction you were holding, so now it's wrong.
Oh.
If you want to keep moving in that direction.
Oh.
Or you have to stop moving and start moving again, pressing the correct direction. And then the lack of load times means that anytime there's a screen transition, it's instant and they're still attacking you, and you have to reorient your brain with this new visual image. So there's some give and take there on both of those. Yeah. The other thing that gets me because like it feels like it should be a Resident Evil style game because of the fixed camera angles and the tank controls.
Like when you play it, it feels very Resident Evil.
Yeah, but enemies respawn.
They do,
and also you want them to respawn.
You have to grind. Yeah,
you need to grind. So it breaks my brain in a lot of ways. Just the similarities versus the differences between this and a Resident Evil style game.
And the game has some kind of dedicated grinding areas. Like right at the main floor of the castle is a save point, and then right outside that main door is this sort of courtyard with a bunch of respawning enemies. And you have to level up.
There's a lot of those near almost every save point. There's a grind spot.
So the game is expecting you to grind. You have to grind to level up your spells to open higher tiered doors.
Yep.
It does, enemy-wise, it's kind of what you expect. There's some big brutish enemies that are like, hit you really hard. There's some dudes that have blocking. There's some guys that, later in the game, little tentacle guys that turn into 2 guys when they fall down on the ground.
Yeah, I hate those.
The most frustrating enemies are these weird skull floaty things.
I hate those.
And as your souls pop out of the enemies you kill, you have to hold a button to absorb them. You have to stop attacking, stand totally still, and stand there and absorb this shit. But they will absorb those orbs before you can get them. And then if you wait too long, they will disappear with your cache of orbs.
Right.
And so
those
the game
are the only enemies that I'd pull out the bow for.
Yeah. The game makes grinding really frustrating sometimes in that regard.
Now, we should mention the souls that you collect. There's different colors of them.
Yes.
The red one is your experience or currency that you use to upgrade stuff. The yellow one is health recovery, blue one is magic recovery, and then there's the dumbass fucking Xbox green one. I don't know if you ever played the original Xbox version of the game.
It's possible that that's the version I tried way back when I tried it. So, but I don't remember.
So the green souls pop out randomly, just like the other souls. It's not like certain enemies give you certain colors of souls. It's just random what color it's going to be. So if you collect 5 green souls, you gain temporary invulnerability and health regeneration.
Okay.
However, anytime a green soul pops up, all of the enemies can also absorb green souls, and they'll fight you for it. So while you're trying to absorb it, another enemy is simultaneously trying to absorb it, and other enemies are trying to fight you.
Yeah.
So you have to play this tug of war while still defending yourself and fighting other enemies to get this green soul, because if an enemy gets a green soul, they get powered up, and they are stronger than you.
Mm-hmm.
So
that doesn't sound fun.
It's so annoying. I hate the green souls so much. I'm glad they're not in the main game or in the remaster.
Boss-wise, most of the bosses are kind of forgettable. There's one where you fight like a mirror Seminosuke that's a pretty fun fight. It's really tough, but it's pretty cool. Most of the rest of them are just big, hulking, demon-y looking dudes that hit really hard, and that's just kind of it. Yeah, there are a few segments, I think there's either 2 or 3, where you play as Kaede.
Yep.
Kind of in Resident Evil fashion. You change, protagonist briefly. Except Kaede only has a little shitty dagger, which you can find an upgraded weapon for. And she cannot absorb souls, which kind of makes her sections of the game feel real pointless, like you just want to get through them because you're killing all these dudes and you're not getting any souls for it, so you're not able to level up. So that is one area where that sort of classic Resident Evil design flies in the face of what Onimusha wants to do, which is it wants you grinding all the time. And for a game that's only like 4 to 8 hours long, it's a good bit of grinding.
Yeah.
It's a not insubstantial amount.
I got most of mine out of the way early.
Yeah.
I just knocked it out.
Yeah, I mean, that is the upside, is that it's not like you can get a good amount of souls from early game enemies, even the early grinding spots, if you spend your time there. So that's nice. I did like I liked the combat. I feel like there was just enough meat there to last the length of the game that by the time I was getting to the end of the game, I was really kind of starting to fully understand the combat. Mm-hmm. If it was any longer, it would have been a little, not quite enough mechanics. If it was any shorter, it wouldn't have quite been long enough for me to really get comfortable with them.
I'm going to tell you, I had a friend that when this game came out, he finished it at least 10 times back to back.
Oh my God.
He loved this game.
It's not very spooky, which I liked. There are horror elements, but I think a part of it is because, for me, at least for me, when I play Resident Evil, what makes me nervous and kind of scared is that there's shit happening, and I got rocket launchers and Uzis and whatever, but I can't fucking use them.
Yeah.
And I know that all of the healing items and shit are limited in the game, so that is what builds the tension for me. It's like, oh my God. In this, it's like I've constantly got this big kick-ass fucking wind sword.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel a little. It's kind of that Resident Evil 4 syndrome where it's a little less scary because you're kind of decked out. You are able to deal with these situations.
Also, it doesn't really feel like it's playing up the horror at all. It's got monsters, but not like horror outright.
It gets a little
it gets dark.
It gets dark, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of scrolls and books you pick up that are describing the demon realm and these rituals of killing people and drinking blood out of their skull, and it gets pretty fucking Hellraiser-y, kind of dark. Never scary.
I did share some pictures in the chat because the first multiple things I searched were just telling me that Samanosuke can't read them. And I was like, oh, just making fun of the idiot illiterate Samanosuke here.
Yeah. Puzzles were pretty good. None of them were too complicated or too long. I also think the size of the game, because I get really turned around in these kinds of games. Something about the fixed camera angle makes all the areas in my brain feel really disconnected.
Yeah.
And I forget how to get around, because I'm very much a direction person. When I'm playing a game, I'm like, oh, I know that thing is to the west, and I can go west, and then I get there. This game, it'll be like, oh, go north, and I'm like, which fucking way is that?
At least
it's
got a good map.
Is up the top of the screen. It does have a good map, which is nice. I appreciated when I realized it existed 2 hours into the game.
It's clicking the left stick for the map, right?
I think it's click the right stick. Or at least it was for me. But also, I didn't know there's a block button until the boss for the wind sword. So I didn't read the manual. I just started playing it.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe you had your analog sticks backwards, and that's why your analog stick movement didn't work.
Oh, maybe they could have been mapped wrong. I immediately gave up because it was tank controls anyway, and I was like, I don't want to do tank controls on analog sticks. That sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. I had a fun time with it.
Yeah.
It still felt very PS2, if that makes sense, and kind of all that entails of
early PS2 at that.
it was very much that like early PS2 action game kind of thing of like, it's a little clunky. It's parts of it feel like dated design wise, but there's some fun to be had there. There's kind of a cool, creepy, dark, blood drenched, Japanese Sengoku demon story going on. The puzzles are kind of cool. The combat ranged from a little annoying to pretty fun, depending, on the area.
It doesn't feel like super, super deep, but it's enjoyable. Like it's just visceral enough to be fun.
I played all the way through the game.
Yeah.
The last boss he's a little inventive too. I forget about him. He's very much like a screen filling, like kind of classic 16-bit feeling boss. Yeah. Really. Even the angle you have, it feels almost like a Contra fight.
It feels like a lot of the Resident Evil final boss kind of things, where it's just a giant, oversized thing.
Right before you get to him is when you can use the ocarina to unlock the strongest sword in the game, and I missed it.
Oh.
I missed the strongest sword in the game, and I didn't want to go all the way back, and because you have to go through another boss fight to get there, and it was a whole fucking thing, so that sucked. What was frustrating is there's a cool scene where right when he's fighting the last boss, he turns into like Oni Summonosuke.
Yeah.
And immediately you're like, oh man, cool. Am I gonna get like an Oni ability and I can like change forms or whatever? Oh, it's just over.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was it.
It saved the best for last and then didn't let you do it.
Come back in the third game.
I really wish in that final scene they had like for that boss fight done a cutscene and then let you turn into like Oni Summonosuke and then finish it. Like that would have been cool.
Yeah.
I will say the quality of the cutscenes is pretty good. The voice acting's pretty good.
Yeah.
I did watch a lot of it on 2X because in traditional PS2 fashion, they all just talk very slow and move around the scene really slowly.
Was the PS2 version voice acting in English or was it in Japanese?
Mine was in English. I don't know if there was an option to change it, but I kept it in English. So,
I left mine in Japanese just because it was in Japan, so it felt right to have Japanese text, which meant I had to constantly read things. Right. And the new font is pretty tiny, so that was a little annoying.
Yeah. So I don't know. Overall, like it's such a succinct package.
Yeah.
I feel like it definitely very much feels like come back for Onimusha 2.
Yeah. It does feel like a product of its time.
For sure. Like there's some fun to be had here.
Yeah.
I would say definitely. if you like if you like Dino Crisis and classic Resident Evil and stuff, there's no reason not to play it. It's very much
just
that
an action-y version of that.
If you're okay with the warts of, Parasite Eve and Resident Evil 2, then they're not going to bother you here any more than they bother you there. And really, in my case, they bothered me less than they bothered me there because the game was designed not around limitation, but almost kind of around excess.
Yeah, going into it back in the day, I expected a horror game, and I was a little disappointed because it was just a very difficult action game. Yeah. And it's definitely not a horror game. If you go into it expecting like an action game that is built on horror game gameplay tropes, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what I went into it wanting. I was like, let's do a spooky Halloween game. And it's definitely spooky, but it's not scary. Like you said, it's dark.
Yeah.
Let's talk Legacy. Tell me, did they make any more of these, Saturn? Was this
we skipped over the reception, but
we did. Let's talk reception then.
That was all right.
Okay. This was very well remembered. Like at the time, it reviewed really well.
Oh yeah.
I think the gaming press just hadn't gotten tired of that classic Resident Evil formula, which
also was one of the early PS2 games that was not on every platform.
True. It did really well. It was greatest hits eventually, and I think were the sequels at least 2 was greatest hits also, wasn't it?
Yeah,
all 3 of them were.
Yeah. Well, I say all 3. All 3 of the original trilogy. There was a 4th PS2 game that I did not at all know about until we were recording this.
Oh, was there?
Yes.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize how many of these they fucking made. Now, I own Onimusha Tactics.
Yeah, you got my copy of Onimusha Tactics.
Yeah, I got it from you. Yeah. But tell me about legacy-wise, what all came out of this?
There was Onimusha 2 and 3, which were the conclusions to the trilogy. Onimusha 3 famously had Jean Reno in it from The Professional.
Yeah. I suspect that if I played Onimusha 2, it would feel like the second half of this game.
Possibly. I remember some friends of mine were not happy with it when it first came out because it doesn't have Samanosuke.
Oh,
and so they felt like it was a bit too much of a departure.
Okay.
And then it kind of culminates in Onimusha 3.
In the first game, they kind of implied that Samanosuke dies, and then literally 5 minutes later after the credits, they're like, no, he didn't, he's alive. And you're like, okay, what was with the fucking fake out?
Yeah, he shows up again in 3 as a playable character, but 3 also takes place in modern era.
Oh,
so there's some time travel involved.
Yeah.
And then there was also Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, which is the 4th PS2 game, which I, again, had no idea about until now. It came out in 2006.
This cover now that I'm like looking at it, but
yeah, this was a real late PS2 game. This was after the Xbox 360 came out. And then there was also Onimusha Tactics on GBA, which is a Final Fantasy Tactics style game, but in the Onimusha universe. I don't know if it's canon or not. There was Onimusha Blade Warriors, which was a spin-off game, and Onimusha Soul, which was
Blade Warriors was a tournament fighting game, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. What's weird is Tactics and Blade Warriors came out before Onimusha 3. Before they finished the trilogy, they did 2 spin-off games.
Yeah. It was the series was doing well enough that they were pumping out spin-offs already. They were in full Capcom mode already.
Oh yeah.
And then there was a mobile game called Shin Onimusha that was Japan exclusive, and then there was Onimusha Soul, which is a PS3 exclusive digital only game, which I had also not heard of. It came out in 2012. But other than that, the series kind of died after the release of Dawn of Dreams on PS2 until the remaster, which came out in late 2018, early 2019. On pretty much every console, and Capcom reported at least 300,000 units sold across all consoles, which doesn't sound like a ton.
That's pretty good for, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. It's gonna be like for a remaster of a PS2 game, like that's.
But it was also on every console, PC, PS4, or PS4, Xbox, and Switch. So that's less than 100,000 per console. That feels like it's probably disappointing, which is why we haven't seen any other remasters since then.
Reviews were also a little less kind this time around. I think it like a lot of the older Resident Evil games just kind of aged a little worse than we remember it.
Though honestly, the re-release of Resident Evil 1 and 0 reviewed much higher than this on the same consoles. So
that's true.
I feel like it just maybe it's too much a product of its era. And just has kind of fallen away for anybody who doesn't enjoy games of that era. So,
kind of getting into final thoughts, I guess. It's a pretty fun game.
Yeah,
it's very much just like what if Resident Evil, but you didn't have to worry about running out of weapons, and it was not scary and was in feudal Japan.
Like, what if everything that was Resident Evil was removed from Resident Evil,
except for everything mechanically?
Yeah,
that's all still there. What if using the mechanical framework? It was about a samurai.
Yeah.
I think it works. I think
there's a panda costume, Justin.
Well, that's good enough. Is weird? What's weird is like when I was playing it, I was like, "This is pretty fun," and I was compelled all the way through it. But then afterward, I'm like, it had problems.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like half a game. But when I was playing it, it was a pretty good time. I liked cutting up the demons. That was cool. A+ on that part.
I might replay it just because of the panda costume. Because you unlock that when you finish it, and it looks so dumb, and I love dumb costumes.
So you're not like a cute panda, you're like a big dumpy panda?
Oh, have you not seen it?
I've not seen it.
Oh, here, let me send you a picture.
I have not seen this. No, I just assumed it'd be like a little cute looking panda outfit.
No, it's just like Samanosuke dressed as a panda. And he
looks like a mascot in a shopping mall.
Yes. Yeah, and he can put the mask on or take it off, and it's great. It looks so dumb.
That's
I love
ridiculous. And you get a little kangaroo pouch with a baby panda in the front. It's cute. So cute. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I kind of wish I could play the sequel, but I wish it had a remaster that I could play because going back to the original PS2 versions is a little rough these days. Yeah. Like many games of that era, I think. But I think overall it's worth a look. I had a good. I think I played the game for 5 hours. Like it's a long afternoon or weekend or over 2 or 3 days after work kind of game that you can sort of hammer out.
So a perfect $50 brand new console game, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'd be a little upset at $50 for a game that I think How Long to Beat rates at 4 hours if you don't get the extra shit.
And again, my friend played through it like 10 times, and he
Well, he got his
loved
money
every
worth.
minute of it. He thought that it was the best new game he could get for the PS2, and was trying to sell everyone on it.
Yeah. Definitely, I would say 2001 felt unique.
Yeah.
A little less unique feeling now. There's other ways to be a cool kick-ass samurai in a video game these days.
No, it's just this one.
Oh, that's it? They never...
Yeah, we got rid of the rest.
Never came out with another one.
Nope.
So if you want to be a samurai, you got to go get a PS2 and play Onimusha Warlords. That's the only way.
You can play the remaster. You're allowed to.
Yeah, you can. Well, you need special permission to play the remaster, which you can get if you go to patreon.com/retrowarriors and give us money.
That's
then
the
we'll
best
give you
segue you've
permission.
done in a while. I'd just like to say.
Then we'll give you permission to play the remaster version of Onimusha Warlords. We'll also give you Talking Wizards. You can have it. You just have it. I'll just give it to you. You give me some money. Yeah, it's like how when you subscribe to Netflix, you get free movies. If you subscribe to our Patreon, you get free podcasts. Right?
If you subscribe to Game Pass, you get all these free games while you're
free
still
video
subscribed.
games. It's great. You get Read Along, where we read old game magazines. You get Talking Wizards, where we talk about I don't fucking know. Weird shit. Stuff. Breakfast cereals, and I don't. It's mostly bits. It's mostly just really stupid bits for a long time.
Yeah.
But we got that.
I sent you another picture of
I see that's with the panda mask is scary looking. He's a little spooky.
He's dumb looking.
A little spooky looking. We want to thank the following people for the money that they gave us, starting with STG the Mr. Guy
and Atreyu Wormwood,
the Coffee Samurai,
Thomas J of San Jose,
McGrew,
George McBain,
Victor Villa,
Retro Video Game Zone Jason,
Bob-Om1,
and Ed Webb
have all given us money.
Yay.
They've given us money, and we thank them for that money.
We forgot to mention the guy was coming up after the Patreon.
Oh yeah. No, guy's gonna be here, so don't.
We should have said that before the Patreon segue, so people wouldn't tune out. So
don't leave. All right, don't go anywhere. Look at the running time. There's like 20 minutes left. Where are you going? Don't turn it off.
Oh my God, this uncut is gonna be like 2.5 hours.
Yes, do stay tuned after the ending theme. Our producer guy is going to be on.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together. Hi, welcome to the after party with our producer Guy, who's hopefully already on the line and not in the bathroom or something.
One of these days you're going to actually check.
No, he's not.
Hi, Guy.
I mean, he finally transitioned in a non-awkward way.
You act like Justin learns, though.
Oh, no, I'm incapable of learning.
Yeah.
Again, he finally made the transition in a non-awkward way.
That was an accident. They
didn't have those fancy marshmallow football helmets when I was a kid, so I can't learn things anymore.
Did you eat paint chips when you were a kid?
Yes, he did. He lived under some power lines.
Yeah, those real big power lines that you can hear. And they make your teeth rattle. Those.
I was just quoting Tommy Boy.
Hi, Guy.
Hi, how are you?
How's it going? You haven't been on the show in 70 or 80 episodes, something like that?
It's been a while. Yeah, did a lot of traveling, and then
I don't know why I thought you were going to say drugs, and I was like, calm down. Let's calm down for a minute.
Wow. Okay.
Did a lot of the drugs.
No.
You did go traveling. You went to New York and other
Chicago and my mother-in-law's house in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Oh, how exciting.
What part of Pennsylvania?
Rural. I don't know. Orangeville, I think, is the name of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Rural answered it, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you like traveling? I fucking hate traveling. I don't handle it well.
I don't know. It depends.
I'm the worst. Okay.
Like I enjoy traveling, and I really enjoy traveling by myself. I enjoy doing it often as much as I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there were like 3 years there where I worked in Michigan and lived in Dallas.
Oh, okay. So you're a little tired of it.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just, my point was more that I got used to it because I would fly out to Michigan for 1 week every month or so.
Yeah. Oof. That's
a
deal breaker for me. I'm real fucking bad about travel. I'm just the worst.
It's fine. Going out to Pennsylvania was cool, like seeing Kristen's mom and meeting her stepdad, who knows James Taylor. That's my fun fact about her stepdad.
Nice.
That was fun, and like spending time up there was really cool. Nice. Going to Chicago was always fun. I love that city.
Mm-hmm.
I would move there if it wasn't so cold in the winter.
What's your plan? Like, because we think you've traveled many times.
Uh-huh.
So you go to a new city, like, because this is what I struggle with. Like me and my wife, like whenever we do travel, occasionally when she does force me to travel somewhere, we get there and we're like, what do we do now? You know what I mean? And so she's an itinerary person. She's like, I guess she just goes and Googles like stuff to do in Chicago and then just kind of starts researching and narrowing down from there. Are you an itinerary person? Or are you just like, we're just going to show up and just see where the day takes us kind of thing? Like, what's your plan for it?
Kind of depends on the trip. Like when we went to Pennsylvania, we knew that on the third day we were there, we were going to an amusement park. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
But
so you had a little itinerary there. Sure.
But other than that, our days where we're going to hang out with Kristen's mom and stepdad. So whatever they're doing or whatever they want to do, then yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay.
Going to Chicago was like a business trip. So I had like a conference that I had to go to. So I had to be places. But outside of the conference time, like I made plans with just to hang out with one of my friends. That he's been my friend for like 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives in Chicago. And so I was like, hey, on Wednesday night, let's just meet up after the conference and hang out till like the party or whatever. So we did that. And then New York, again, it was a work trip. So I had to be at one of our clients' offices like all day on the main day I was there. But the night I flew in, we were staying like one street over from Broadway.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to a show.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and saw Back to the Future, the musical.
Nice.
It's so good. Oh my God. I love that. I love that show. Like the dude it's coming to Dallas. Tickets are supposed to go on sale middle of next month, like November 11th or 12th or something. They're somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the guy that played Doc kind of was doing like a Rick impression.
Okay, that was a little odd, but all right.
Yeah, so it was a little weird. He's like, hey Marty,
somehow.
Marty, I've got radiation. I'm gonna die. Okay. So they changed a couple plot points, obviously.
Well, isn't the whole Rick and Morty thing supposed to kind of be a parody of Doc to begin with?
Yeah, kind of ish. Yeah.
It's like at a really high level, sorta. Like it's the same.
I've only seen like 2 episodes, so I don't know definitively.
Like there was that little commercial or bumper they did for Cartoon Network where Christopher Lloyd played Rick.
Yeah. I think it's more just kind of playing on the
mad
like genius scientist with companion trope in general. But it touches on it. I think it's a little broader than that. But yeah, it's definitely in there for sure.
I just assumed that Morty versus Marty was a direct reference.
I guess I never really thought. It never occurred to me that it is just one letter difference. Maybe it's more direct than I'm giving it credit for. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of looks like Doc Brown too.
He does. He does. Yeah, for sure.
I just always assumed that was the case.
I mean, I've seen some of the show. It's just always more space travel and dimensional travel than like time travel stuff. But there's time travel stuff in there for sure.
The Back to the Future cartoon had some like space travel and shit on it.
There was Back to the Future cartoon. I've never seen this.
Oh man,
it came out around the same time Back to the Future 2 and 3 did. Like they came out within 6 months of each other.
Those movies always existed in my life because I'm a little baby.
No, I saw them in the theater.
Yeah.
Oh,
me too.
Yeah.
I want to say
these things called theaters. I see. All right.
I want to say it was just after Back to the Future 3 that they did the cartoon because the train was there in the cartoon.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, the movies came out within like 6 months.
From such a legendary trilogy of movies, the fucking train. Yeah, the train is what they keep.
The train, well, everything they keep. Doc's kids are there, and the train and the DeLorean and Marty and all that shit. it's a lot of it. But I just remember the train being present throughout the cartoon, which is what made me think it was after 3.
Back to the Future 3 was one of the first movies. You know when you're a kid and like you can kind of look back on like, man, I watched a lot of shit and didn't recognize that it was shit. Back to the Future 3 was one of the first times as a kid that I remember watching the movie and being like, what the fuck is this?
Well, you're a wrongy, so
it's fucking Back to the Future. No, I didn't. I did not like it. I did not like that it was a Western. I was like, this is all wrong. I don't like this at all.
Like,
I was fine.
I like Back to the Future that I know a bunch of Back to the Future trivia, but also I'm old enough, I guess, that when like Lord of the Rings shot like their movies back to back, I was like, oh, like Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So like, I don't know. You're talking to the wrong crowd if you're going to say it's a shit movie. So
I never liked that one. It was one of the first movies I remember being a kid and being like, oh yeah, I like the first one, love the second one. What the fuck is this? What the fuck has happened? That and the third Ninja Turtles movie, both of those trilogies, I remember.
Well, you're on board with that.
I remember hitting the third one and being like, what the fuck is happening?
I was just looking up the Back to the Future cartoon. Apparently, it starred Christopher Lloyd and Bill Nye.
Oh,
nice.
Is Bill Nye Marty or?
Those are live action. They didn't provide the voices.
Oh.
The voices were different people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right?
They couldn't get Christopher Lloyd to do the voice. He voices a cartoon on fucking PBS.
Wait, okay, so Christopher Lloyd did live action segments of Doc Brown for the cartoon, but Dan Castellaneta did his voice in the cartoon.
Nice.
Christopher Lloyd voices cartoons now for PBS. Right? Why wouldn't he do it back then? That's weird. That's a weird.
That makes sense.
Maybe he had aspirations of getting more roles than he ultimately did.
Yeah, he had to go be in like. Not Roger Rabbit. Dennis the Menace.
He had to go eat beans and fart under a bridge in Dennis the Menace.
That's good.
Oh, God.
Apparently it was the first time Bill Nye was ever on television was on the Back to the Future cartoon.
Really?
Nice.
Did not know that.
Weird.
Learning new things every day.
Right?
How strange. No, I didn't. I mean, I just kind of assumed that every notable movie from the 80s all the way up into like 95 got a cartoon and a toy line, even if they were R-rated, because that kind of seemed to be the case.
Yeah. That's pretty common.
You know,
I remember watching RoboCop 2 in the theaters.
Yeah, that was a TV movie for me. That's RoboCop was always on one of our local channels on like Sunday afternoons for a while there, and so that was my introduction to RoboCop. So I'd never seen the uncensored version of RoboCop. Now, Grant, like, so here's RoboCop's my favorite movie, possibly of all time. It's up there. It might be tied with my number one, right? It's a top 3 ultimate all time movie for me. Did you make a noise like you don't like RoboCop, Saturn? Was that fucking noise? Oh my God! How do you not like RoboCop? It's about a robot cop.
Yeah,
and he like kills people, and Red Foreman does cocaine off of a Bowie knife and shoots a bazooka at a police. He shoots a guy in the dick.
Yeah,
it's a great film. It's a great film.
It's also filmed in Dallas.
It is.
It was, yeah. The OCP headquarters was the like town hall or some shit.
Yep.
And Paul Verhoeven was fucking incredible, and then Peter Weller was incredible.
Tower in the background, and
oh man,
yeah, Reunion Tower in Detroit.
Yep.
What a movie!
We got relocated.
I think there's also a building that says Texas on it.
Yeah, probably.
Now as an adult, like going back and watching it, there's still some scenes that kind of make me squirm, especially early on that were edited out of the TV cuts.
Yeah.
But yeah. I remember being a kid and being stoked that the bad guy in Back to the Future 2 was a kid. Like me. I'm a kid. That was so exciting. The kid.
Back to the Future 2?
Not Back to the Future.
2?
RoboCop 2. I'm sorry.
Okay. Right.
RoboCop 2. The bad guy was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you just really hated Elijah Wood for a second.
I don't remember RoboCops 2 or 3 hardly at all. Like they basically didn't exist for me.
RoboCop 2 was good. 3 was bad. It was pretty bad. But
you got to none of the things I have on my list.
Go ahead with your this is your segment, please. Go ahead.
Wow. I've been on an adventure trying to get fucking streaming to my couch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, like okay, so like in my head, like it's a built-in functionality. You can stream from your PC onto a virtual monitor into your Xbox, right?
Yeah.
And so I tried that.
Allegedly.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. So I tried that when I first moved into this house, and then I was like, oh no, it's probably the network's dumb. I'm on like the T-Mobile like thing. So okay, so we changed to like AT&T. I'm like, okay, let me spin it up now. I'm like, well, it's on wireless, so let me go get new mesh nodes for each of these rooms and plugged them in directly. It was still shitty.
Yeah.
So finally, after doing all of this, I was like, hey, Saturn, what would you recommend here at this point?
Not that.
Yeah, he goes, not that. I was like, oh, I should have asked you like months ago at this point. God damn it. So he suggested, he's like, you have an Apple TV, just use like the Moonlight app and like the Sunshine server.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I Googled it and got it set up.
Yep. And
so like the past like couple of weeks now, I've just, I've customized it to the point of like, I went and downloaded a application to manage monitor profiles. So I have a single button click to get down to like one display in the office and, the TV virtual display, right?
Right. So it streams properly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it takes less load. It's not running two monitors, a TV and another TV in 4K.
Right.
So like, cause it was annoying to have to like click and then click confirm and then click and then, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
What else have I done with it? I don't know, all sorts of shit where it's just like this process of like, do it and then play for a while. And then whatever's annoying, figure out how to not do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's been great.
Tinkering phase.
Yeah. It's so much fun. I'm so grateful. My life has changed. I've played so much, Spider-Man from 2018, which I've already 100%.
Spider-Mans, yeah.
Like previously, but I'm like, no, I like this game, and like, cause Spider-Man 2 is coming out soon for PC.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll play through both the Spider-Mans before the third Spider-Man called Spider-Man 2 comes out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't click as well with Spider-Man 2 as I did with the first two. I keep meaning to go back to it though.
Yeah. Nice. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I hope you enjoy it.
It opens up more map, I hear, so that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I got this thing where I was like, the reason I wanted to do it is because I want to fucking finish Trails of Cold Steel, right? Or not Trails of Cold Steel, Trails in the Sky.
Yeah.
SC, the second one.
Yep.
So we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So I did that for like the first couple of weeks while I was like starting the process.
Yeah.
And then realized that I could like play PS4 games that I wanted to play but are now on PC.
Yeah.
And so like I just keep bouncing off of things. And so I've stuck with Spider-Man for a while, but I need to get back to Trails for real.
Nice.
But yeah, like I went as far as installing Windows 11 just so that I could stream HDR to a TV on a virtual driver. It's like it doesn't work on Windows 10, so you have to have a whole new OS. Like, God fucking damn it. All right, well, let's do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my adventure with gaming from my couch from my PC. It's great.
I did couch streaming gaming from my PC to my Steam Link. That was my primary console for like a couple years there.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Sure, it's great.
Oh my god, yep. I was thinking about buying a PS5, not anymore.
Yeah. Now the Xbox streaming that you were trying, they only market that as streaming applications, not games. Like, it can technically stream games, but they don't market it for that. They want you to like show a PowerPoint TV or a PowerPoint presentation on your TV through it. That's their goal. So that's why it doesn't run super, super great.
Well, they need a better goal.
Yes.
All right. The other thing I have on my list is talking about my kids.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, like the other day we were sitting at dinner. And we were on our way home from me picking them up, and Max said something about he goes, I kind of want to go to a Metallica show, but I kind of think it's going to hurt my ears. I was like, oh no, there's a solution for that. You want to go to a Metallica show? What? It's like this moment that I've been waiting for since I learned I was going to be a father.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay, we're going to start a journey through all of the good music. Because then he followed that up with, yeah, rock is the best kind of music. I was like, okay, we're here now in our journey. Let's go. I'm so excited, y'all. I cannot wait.
I found like good earplugs and take them out to a show.
Yeah, we're gonna find the right show, figure out like what they like, and stuff. But like I found like a YouTube channel of somebody who like has a personality like mine and gets excited about the same things that I do in music, and she does like reaction videos or whatever to different things.
Yeah,
and her channel is all kinds of like rock and metal and shit. I'm like, okay, we're gonna start, instead of watching Batman now, we're going to watch this.
Well,
I'm
that's
so
good.
excited. Can't wait.
That's good.
Yeah. That's my story, I guess. We can go now. It's the longest episode. I feel bad. Like I
just
gotta, like,
trying
so
to
much
let
talk
it
about.
breathe, man. I don't want to rush you through anything. And just
Okay. I'm just like talking fast and rushing because like
letting it fuck. It is a long. I mean, we for the uncut listeners, this is over 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Maybe we can hit
I'm glad
3.
that you're getting to share some interest with your kid. That's exciting.
Yeah, no, I really cannot overstate how excited I am about it. Like it's going to be a fun few months, like getting them like,
heck yeah,
through the 70s.
The first time that me or my brother showed any interest in rock music, my father immediately sat us down and showed us The Wall.
Oh, nice.
Like that was step one for him, was we have to watch The Wall. and like the music from The Wall, fantastic.
Sure.
The movie is a lot when you're like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in. That's that's a lot to parse.
Yeah, that was
it's so good.
Yeah,
I mean it's an okay movie, but like that's funny. It's a good story.
My daughter's 8, so she's at the age where she'll show an interest in something I like, but then she doesn't have the attention span for any of it. So you have to do that kind of parent version where you're like, well, this is kind of, you're gone. Okay. All right, okay. Yeah. You've lost interest now and you've gone back to your thing, which is fine.
That'll come, right? Like that's why I'm so excited, is because like it's a thing that I know is going to stick, and like both the kids are into, and like, no, I'm real excited. Like we listen to obviously music like when we're in the car or whatever, and we have this like playlist that me and my wife keep adding to. And so they've been exposed to a lot of the music, but now I get to put it in context, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm so ready for that.
Oh, my kid fucking hates my music. she absolutely, her and my wife listen to some of the same music, but they both cannot stand anything that I find remotely listenable. And to be fair, a lot of it is rough. I'll give them that. I'll admit to that. But it's I'm the one always having to wear the headphones in the house because my stuff is not. No one wants to hear that.
Growing up, most of the people in my household agreed on music. Like it was. My mom would listen to modern, what was at the time modern rock and classic rock. My dad preferred classic rock but had no issues with modern rock, and my siblings were all also into rock or maybe some alternative. And so it was everybody was pretty okay with all the same music in my house. It was I didn't realize that would be a weird thing, but I guess maybe it was.
I feel like that's definitely a weird thing. Yeah. I like when I was a kid, I liked the same music as my dad. But then deviated from there when I turned like 12 and up, and then none of us wanted to listen to each other's shit. So it's kind of
when I grew up,
on the same page.
It was just me and Dad. So we sort of naturally grew the same taste. Well, I guess I was indoctrinated into his taste, right? Like it's how it worked out, and and then he didn't want to get a babysitter, so I went to like all kinds of concerts. Like I went to Pink Floyd in 1988 when they were in town.
Yeah.
Like, and it was a proper Pink Floyd lineup.
Yeah. But see, in my household, we all basically mocked the same kind of music, which was great because we could all congeal around our rock and some alt and collectively make fun of pop music and country music. We all collectively did not like that. So it was one of the few bonding things we had as a family.
My wife and I both enjoy 90s alternative. That is only our only point of agreement.
Just Pearl Jam.
And it's not, neither one of us like listens to it a lot on our own, but when we're together, we're like, okay, well, I guess 90s alternative is where we agree. Yes. All right, great. Excellent. That's what it is.
Dude, I've been with my wife for a long time, 6 years, ish, like 5.5 officially, but anyway. And so it's still this like exploration of being hesitant to really say, hey, I like this, right? Sometimes. So, or like introducing music that I'm not sure if she would like or not, I guess is where it's at. So like if I'm like, hey, do you want to listen to Slipknot? And she's like, well, sure, we'll try it. And there hasn't been a whole lot where I've been like, hey, let's listen to this, and she's like, no, and same with her. Like I have my preferences, but like on our shared playlist, I like everything that she's got on there. So great.
Yeah, we're in a kind of different spot. We're in year 14. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think 13. We've been married for 10 of them, but it's at a point where we both usually have a pretty good idea of what one another's going to like before we wouldn't even have to show it to them. Yeah. So if we can go up to him and be like, I think you'll like this much, and then the other one of us will be like, yes, that's correct. Made a correct assessment. I do like that assessment. I like that amount, and I'm like, hey, excellent. Carry on. Goodbye. Like this. Well,
she's introduced me to a lot of good stuff too. So, and that's another thing I'm excited for is like eventually the kids are going to get their own taste.
Oh yeah.
And I want to see what they share with me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
My first girlfriend in high school, her only interest musically was Ace of Base. She did not like any other music in the world but Ace of Base.
All right.
I learned that "Don't Turn Around" was a cover song.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we went to see Tina Turner the musical, and they played that song, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
A lot of people covered Tina Turner stuff. That's weirdly enough. Guy, thanks for producing the show and being on the show. And
I'm glad to be back. Things are calming down.
Stuff,
nice,
and things or whatever. I guess.
Yeah. Wow, you're so complimentary. I love you so much.
Yeah, you didn't let me finish. It was complimentary in the beginning, but then it went down. You
just got mad that I interrupted.
You said thank you too early, and so it just went. It's nice to have you back. It's nice that it's not just me and Saturn, hanging out and deleting shows and whatever.
I feel like a lot happened while I was gone.
You did miss some shit, man.
It's not too late. I can still delete this.
Oh God, please don't. It's 2.5 hours long. Please don't. Anyway, we got to get out of here. This show is so long. Thank you so much for listening to the after party with Guy. Guy, thanks for producing the show, and we'll be back next time. Thank you. Good night, but goodbye.
All right, bye.